Most of my designs incorporate nature, and for me, I'm always trying to find meaning in a piece. And for this piece, my inspiration was a juniper tree. Here I am laying out all my measurements on a piece of 1/8" plate. I'm using an angle grinder to cut the plate, and then I take a flap disc to round over the edges in order to not cut myself. Then I take a drill press and I drill out the holes for the adjustable feet, and then I tack on the nuts. Now here I wanted to make a different angle, so I just kind of eyed it. And I'm tacking it into place so it won't move. And then I build a frame around the center support. Now I've found the best way to bend this metal are with ratchet straps. Clamps always fall off, so this has been the best solution for my projects. Now I always like to step away and get a good eye on it and make sure that the curves are pleasing. And then I cut out a rough shape for my plate. This is 16 gauge steel, and then I put it down and trace it out perfectly. Then I take the angle grinder again and I cut out each individual panel. Each side has its own panel, so there's 4 panels in total. The framework on the inside was very intricate, and I thought about keeping this framework and only enclosing 2 sides of the piece, but in the end I decided to enclose the whole piece because it felt more complete. After welding the seams with a thin gauge wire, I grind off all my welds in order to create a uniform sweeping motion with the piece. Now I always have to go and just look at it millions of times until I decide how I want it oriented. Now I'm doing a little bit of woodworking, and I line out my piece, and it was hard to cut this live edge off, but I had to keep it under 13 inches. Since I'm in a new shop and my table saw was down and this piece is live edge, I decided to use a circular saw and clamp a fence in order to cut my piece square. And here I am cutting off that live edge. Now I'm just eyeing it out and making sure I like where the top part is, and then I'm kind of doing rough measurements for the footrest and getting it rough shape. This shape was actually a little bit bigger than I ended up going with in the end. See, it's a little wider. Now I put the piece down on the ground and I put my feet up to a comfortable position and marked it out so I knew where the footrest would go. Now I'm cutting out my brackets to hold on the footrest and the slab on the top. I drill press a 3/8 inch hole because I'm using 1/4 inch lag bolts, and for every foot of wood, the wood will expand 1/8 of an inch. So I needed that little bit of play inside of each hole so that the wood can expand and contract. Now I sanded this whole piece up to 220, and then I'm chiseling out and sanding out the footrest so it works with the contour of the shape of the piece. This is the drill press where I used to pre-drill all my holes for the lags. And then I tacked on the footrest bracket. Now this is a nice little trick using the metal or the magnet to hold on the top pieces. Now I'm using a poly oil finish. This is a nice finish because it brings out the richness of the wood with the oil, but the poly protects it. And I just finished, 10 minutes to spare, and I'll figure out rock for you. Incredibly pleased with this project. It is something I would like to make more of.